Welcome to the Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Are we approaching the final game of a revered Vikings legend and Harrison Smith?
That's dangerous words you're using there. Like the weather outside today, at this point, the Viking season's just pretty bleak. But one more game to go. Could be a good one with Green Bay.
Reggie Wilson, outgoing Carol Evans sports director. And I feel like the first couple weeks as the Vikes watch the playoffs, there's going to be an overwhelming sense of regret.
Harrison Smith, 2026. Kevin O'Connell knows. Don't text him until he's ready. We'll find out.
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad Show starts now.
Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year's Eve. Welcome into the Vikings Squad Show, streaming on the Locked On Vikings YouTube channel, audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts on the #1 sports podcast network. That's the Locked On Podcast Network. We're so glad you've joined us today on this day before a holiday where we talk Vikings, Packers, and some big picture perspectives, some what ifs on the season that was and started badly and ended well, and what could have been for the Minnesota Vikings. Plus, is it the final game for a handful of Vikings? We'll discuss that, particularly Harrison Smith. And we begin here. Was the defense wasted this year? Was an elite defense that could have led this team to a playoff run? Was it exhausted because of the poor offensive play this season? But first, we are brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Ron, we talked about it on Ron Johnson's show yesterday. 12 points a game the defense has allowed the last four. If you go by DVOA, I think they're like sixth. The sack totals, it really everything except the takeaways this year. The takeaways were absent, and then they all came in two games, the Bengals game and the Lions game. But is that a big regret from this season that a defense of this caliber will not get a chance to go into the playoffs and played great in a number of games and lost? That's got to be a big storyline of this year, that another Brian Flores defense. Now, 2 out of 3 Brian Flores defenses have not made the playoffs.
So, yes, the answer is yes. Very disappointing. And we even talked about the 10-win season that they would have or could have potentially been number one. The NFC North could have been theirs if they had held on and beat the Bears, because the Bears would only have 10 wins right now because they lost to the 49ers. The Vikings, if they beat the Packers, would have 10 wins as well. If the Bears lose to the Lions, which they might and still could, the Vikings would have the tiebreaker to be NFC North champs with 10 wins. And I think that's the hardest thing to think about, is that, like, it is of game and inches. And so when you do that math, as bad as everybody wants to say this coach and, this season was and how bad this was, and they were 1 or 2 plays away from being NFC North champs. Like, the Bears ran away with it early. The Vikings, I think, were 3-8 at one point. 4-8. When you look at that, the way the Bears ran away with it, the way the Packers had injuries, the way the Lions weren't as good as we thought they should be, the Vikings actually turned it around down the stretch. Winning 4 games, everybody's mad because they're like, oh, here we go again. We don't have the 12th or the 10th or the 9th draft pick. The players don't care about that. The coaches really don't care about. The only person that cares about that is the front office. They do care. They're like, damn, okay, we don't have that top draft pick. But then the fans, right? The players don't care. Like, look, we don't get this guy, but we're going to get this guy. Who cares? Our defense is still good. And I think that's the nugget, as we'll get into with Harrison Smith in a minute. That's the nugget I think that's going to always keep some of these guys looming, of like, everybody's coming back. I can run this back. I don't have to do as much as I did last year in X, Y, and Z. But, yeah, it's very disappointing. Like, to not see this defense. Now, again, when you talk about TV, you see the Bears and 49ers game. I don't know if this offense deserves to be in the playoffs. And that's also one that keeps me going, where I got to sit back to the Vikings fans and say, It's kind of a Grinch moment
Puts
for
on
me.
Puts on the Grinch hat.
For those not watching on YouTube or
Right.
streaming, if you're just listening, I just put on my Grinch hat because the Grinch side of me says this offense does not deserve to be in the playoffs at all. But the defense, yeah.
Yeah, it's still an offense, Reggie, that finished bottom 5 in most categories, most passing categories especially. If you're going to do that, your defense has to be like the 85 Bears. And it wasn't the 85 Bears. It had issues stopping the run. And there was a point in the season where I think we were disappointed with the defense. But now it's finishing on such a high note that I'm ready to say, hey, this defense could have gone into the playoffs and won a game. That's how well they're playing.
Yeah, and a couple things, Ron. I'll push back on your Grinch, just because like the Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance to make the playoffs if they win this weekend, and their offense has been atrocious this year. And I know they got Aaron Rodgers and all that. What's the guy at Film Watchers on X? They're calling him Gen Z, John Madden. He was just kind of talking about and criticizing Aaron Rodgers for just how elementary the offense is and how he just refuses to play within scheme. And so, it's just a lot of one-on-one, 50-50 balls on the outside that he loves to do for whatever reason instead of like throwing to the guys that have been schemed open. So I'll go there with how bad the Vikings offense was because it's kind of okay. I feel like the offense has just kind of been bad and kind of down all around the league. Sam Darnold the last 8 games hasn't been great, but the Seahawks just keep winning. And that's just kind of indicative of where the league is right now. I watch a lot of the highlights that I missed on Monday and Tuesday after these game days, and I'm seeing a lot of like 19-13, 17-10, like these low-scoring games all across the league. And I'm just like, ugh, like there's only like a handful of quarterbacks who are going to or have thrown for 4,000 yards. And so that used to just be like the standard. You used to have like at least 10 guys throwing for 4K like a decade ago. Like it just doesn't look good. I think a lot of people, talking about how Philly Rib just came in off the couch, chubby man. I think I was calling him Philly cheesesteak. Like he's just coming out on the field, just throwing meat pies and dissecting Robert Saleh's defense. Like, and people are like, wow, he's just coming off the couch and he's able to, just read defenses and make the offense look good. All this pure progression talk, and he's just coming in and doing his thing. So I think the offense in general is just down, but also it's just indicative of like, these defensive schemes are just confusing a lot of these quarterbacks and unless you got one of those guys like, McVay, Ben Johnson, Shanahan, even Andy Reid has looked like he's kind of been behind it a little bit, trying to get the offense to move forward. Like it's just kind of indicative of like where the league is, I feel like, from an offensive standpoint. And so I think the Vikings could have gotten in. I think the part about how bad the defense looked, I mean, I still remember, and Julia remembers this, we were talking about them getting chopped up by Kamani Vidal. And I'm just like, who is that dude? Like, and he ran all over the Vikings, and they looked so bad against the Chargers. And that defense just provided little to no resistance in that game and for a few games this season. But Harrison Smith talked about after the game on Christmas how they were still trying to figure each other out and figure the scheme out and how they all fit together for a good portion of the season. And it all kind of started to click in that back half of the season. And that's where we kind of saw them playing so much better as a unit and so much more like the unit that Flo would be proud of, Flo would claim as his own defense, other than the guys who were just getting chopped up earlier in the season. And so it's a shame. And I'll pay off the tease that I had in the open. it's a shame because I feel like there were a handful of games. I'm thinking of the Eagles game, the Ravens game, the Bears game at home. Those games were for the taking, and they couldn't get it done. And now they're going to watch these teams in the playoffs and probably regret that they couldn't find it earlier, that Kevin O'Connell couldn't make that decision that, hey, we're just going to push this stuff with the mechanics to the offseason and just let McCarthy go play ball. Maybe once Julia goes, Ron could circle back around. Was it a matter of finally just letting McCarthy go play ball, or was that just his development as the season went on? He finally just allowed things to just click a little bit more because he played like a different quarterback. I thought it was rock bottom when they went to Green Bay. That was probably the worst that we would see JJ McCarthy play. And I'm like, oh man, how does he turn it around? And he did. And so it's like, man, if they employed the mindset of let's just go out there and play ball and try not to turn the football over, just go out there and make plays. Like if they did that earlier, do they win a couple more games, and now are they in playoff contention? Because they're going to be watching the playoffs like, dang, man, like we should be in the tournament. We should be in the dance.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, Julia, like we want to believe that things that will be true now will be true always, but that's just not the case. Like the defense is so good right now. Mm-hmm. We just don't know what's going to happen next year. Next year is not a guarantee. Just like we assumed that because things were so good last year with the offense, that's going to continue, right? Like things aligned last year. The offense was humming. The defense was humming. We thought that would stay the case. Well, major regression for the offense, and we didn't expect it. And that could easily be true next year for the defense. We don't know what the future holds. That's why when you have it in your hand now, a top 10 defense, you want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, but and to go off of your point there, football is completely the opposite of a linear game. So there's no comparison even week to week. You can't say, well, because the Vikings beat the Bears at this point and then the Bears beat this person means that the Vikings should beat this person. It's just there's no way to compare things that's like between 7 days or 4 days between a game or, however long you have. And so that's kind of where you come into even year to year, it's completely different. I mean, this is my 4th season covering the Vikings. Every single year it's been a completely different team. Same core, but there's so many moving parts to the game itself that there's no way to, especially when you're playing at this level, to compare and also keep things consistent. I think that there's teams obviously that are consistently good, year to year. There's like your handful of teams, right? But even the Chiefs, I mean, look at the Chiefs this year. It's totally different than it was last year. Or you look at like the Bills have been consistently good, but that doesn't mean anything when you're talking about next year. And so, yeah, I think it goes both ways. Was an elite defense wasted? Of course, you would like to see these guys in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, football is a team game. And if your team altogether is not playing complete games, then no, you don't. Like, sorry, that's how the cookie crumbles. This is not an individual sport. I do think that they obviously are an incredible defense. Would I go so far to say that it's wasted? Not necessarily, just because that's not how this game works. You have to have an offense that's going to get you in the playoffs as well. You can't rely on one side of the ball to get you there. And now that's not to say if I was a defensive player that was doing well this season and was part of the great defense that they had, that I wouldn't be frustrated in this situation. Of course I'd be frustrated at this point, but you do kind of have to accept that, like, if you guys on both sides of the ball aren't executing, then no, you don't really belong in the playoffs. It's not how that works. It's not how football works. And it's definitely not how the NFL works. Because I feel like maybe in college, yeah, you can have one side of the ball that's playing really well and get into the playoffs and maybe do well. But I just think at this point, you can't necessarily say that a defense is wasted just because your team as a whole doesn't belong in a postseason.
Yeah, you are what your record says you are. I think this whole segment was a big what if, right? Like, what if the Vikings had beaten the Bears, right? What if the offense had just done a little more to help out this defense? Well, let's talk more what ifs when we come back. We can get a little more specific on the things that we will regret after this Viking season that kept them out of the playoffs on the Viking Squad Show. And we're brought to you today by Game Time. The NFL season, regular season's winding down, playoffs coming up, and there's nothing like being at an NFL playoff game. Whole new energy, crowd noise, being alongside fellow fans, cheering raucously. Watching at home, it's nice, but the stadium hits different. It's frustrating sometimes, though, to get tickets. You got to wait in the queues. You got to deal with logins. I always forget my password. The price changes like minute to minute. Well, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to you. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL playoff tickets in just a few taps. Pull it up, check out the upcoming games, find great options instantly. They make it super intuitive. It's easy to browse. It's not overwhelming at all. The display is really simple. It shows you the best deals kind of up front. The zone deals stand out, so you pick the section. Game Time picks the seats. You save even more. Seeing NFL tickets available for like $100, that makes your game day experience pretty good. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, one more time. Create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. All right, rolling on with the Vikings Squad Show. Check out Luke Braun with his daily 30-minute edition of Locked On Vikings. Let me kick this segment off with this. My what if. What if J.J. McCarthy just hadn't tweaked up that ankle in the second game? What if he had had the first half of the season to endure the struggles, right? Keep in mind that he had to play some tough teams in that stretch where he was fighting it. He had to play the Packers. He had to play the Ravens. He had to play the Bears. These are good, these are playoff teams, potential playoff teams. What if he had gotten to work through all that against the Bengals with Browning, or the Browns in London, or the Steelers? Very winnable game. What if he had not had that time off? He'd been able to work through it early in the year. And remember, he started the year. He was 4-4, 500 quarterback. What if he had started the year 4-4, worked through it early in the season when everything was still out in front of him? That's my biggest what if. If that 6-week period where he's out had not occurred, maybe he peaks his way into December. Julia, other what ifs for you this season?
This season in particular, what if I think my biggest what if is, what if they had found a solid veteran quarterback in the offseason to kind of give JJ McCarthy at least some competition, but maybe actually give him a real rookie season, as to say. So it wasn't such trial and error all year. Maybe it was a little bit more, you're relying on your veteran guy to get your rookie ready. What if it was Aaron Rodgers? What if that was the case? We'll never know, but I did, have some sources inside of the building that told me that they were pretty excited about hearing that Aaron Rodgers was talking with the Vikings, and guys were looking forward to his potentially coming to Minnesota. And so I think that's something, obviously, I think the biggest learning curve this whole year has been JJ McCarthy at quarterback. And maybe if he had a veteran in there to really learn from and also be able to get the real reps physically, because I think that that's so important, things would have looked different this year. And so that's my biggest what if. What if JJ McCarthy had a veteran to kind of hold his hand a little bit this year and give him the experience without giving him all of the pressure of handling the entire offense himself? I think things would have been a lot different.
Ron, what ifs? What do you got?
What if they would have just thrown Justin Jefferson the ball? Like I just truly wonder in some of those 50-50 situations, right? So one that comes to mind, and this is my guy Max Brosmer, and I don't want to get too deep into this pure progression read crap, but it's not crap too. I understand it, I get it. But when you talk about progression reads, When Max Brosmer comes to the line of scrimmage, he has a seam to the left, 4 vertical. It's basically a vertical concept. You got 2 guys up the seam. You got 1 guy supposed to hold the single side safety or middle safety, and then you got 2 outside comebacks or go routes based on coverage. If your guy drops, you run a comeback. If your guy's pressed, you run a go. And so it's a conversion route. We know Kevin O'Connell loves a good conversion route or a good choice route. If Max Brosmer had noticed right away Justin Jefferson's corner was pressed and Jalen Naylor's corner was off, he throws it to Justin Jefferson. But because he was reading just the safety and then he eliminated those options thinking, oh, it's a single high safety. And it wasn't a single high safety. It was a safety on the hash to the left. And it is I get it, because in my mind, you see one safety, it's single high. So you treat it like single high. And that's why split coverage is so hard. But he has to understand he was on the short side of the field. So my what ifs are plays like that. Because we all saw it all season where people on Twitter like, oh, Justin Jefferson was wide open. Why didn't anybody throw it? Or Justin Jefferson had, a step on the guy. I wish they had thrown it. That's the only thing I kind of wish. What if they had given Justin Jefferson these chances? Maybe the season goes a little differently too. Like maybe the Bears game, like the one, again, the pick 6 to J.J. McCarthy to start the season. If he just throws it to Jalen Naylor and doesn't try to read, again, single high split coverage, it's a touchdown to Naylor. So again, you look at all those situations of what ifs, it's why not just go to Justin Jefferson? Because in a lot of those situations, I think he eliminates the issues of I don't know who I should go to. So that's my only what if.
And Ron, just quickly on that, how vital will it be to the game plan to get him the 53 yards this week? Is that going to, until that occurs, will it be force-feeding Jefferson until he gets to that mark?
So I can't do a good Grinch smile. For those out there that can, this is the perfect moment for a Grinch smile. If I'm the Packers defensive coordinator right now, I'm Grinch smiling at Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson because I'm triple covering you. I can't go anywhere in these playoffs too far. There's nothing really changing. Wait, do they have to win this game? They don't have to win, right?
Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, they're 7th seed. So I'm gonna give them the Grinch smile. I'm triple covering you. You're not getting 53 yards on my watch. I don't care. I don't need the fans cheering. I don't want to see the signs on your billboards. I don't want to see your jumbotron saying Justin Jefferson, the youngest player to get 1,000 yards and did it. I don't care. Mike Evans, your record is safe because we're going to stop it. But it's truly vital. And honestly, you're not going to find too many deep balls. I think you're going to get 1 or 2 in this game. Like 1 or 2 of the Packers, unless somebody falls or unless one of these Packers defenders has a FanDuel prop that Justin Jefferson gets 53 yards, and they are going to say, hey, I'm going to run with you. Tell your quarterback, I'm not going to reach. You just make this catch, and then I'll tackle you for 53 yards. And we both get the pot. Because I don't know if it's, 1,000 to 1? I don't know what the odds are of him getting this 1,000 yards, but if a Packers player has the props, keep an eye on that. But when you think about that, that's what I say. It's extremely vital. Like you gotta everything we saw in that other game when Max Brosmer was in, which is underneath stuff quick, tunnel screens, bubble screens, double shallows that clearly was just throw it to Justin and everybody else blocked the guy in front of you, which is illegal, but they did it and it worked. Nobody noticed Jordan Addison start blocking a guy before Justin Jefferson had the ball. It was a called underneath shallow. Like Jordan Addison was not looking to rub Justin Jefferson's guy. He was blocking down the field. CJ Ham went to block. TJ Hockenson went to block. It was a called underneath shallow, like block down the field screen. It was a great play call because he got a first down. That's what the play. I mean, even if you have to do that 10 times to get him 50 yards, 5 yards, I'd say you do it. I'd say you be egregiously like, here's what we're doing. Like I would do it. I would do it. I would. There's no reason not to. You're not going to the playoffs. Beating the Packers means absolutely nothing. Like get Justin Jefferson 53 yards.
And after watching the passing game last game against Detroit,
oh my God,
you don't know if you're going to get 53 yards as a team. Yeah, but don't go watch it again.
Don't turn that on.
Start off the new year on a better note than that. Reggie, what is your what if?
Yeah, to Ron's point, wouldn't it be funny like if Brosmer comes out and hits Justin Jefferson on like a bubble screen and he breaks it for like 60 yards for a touchdown, and then it's just like, all right, you get a touchdown and you get your yards for 1,001 play. Like I can actually see it happening. I remember talking to Ron at the game on Christmas, and I was just like, why is Max afraid of throwing the ball? Like the guy that threw the 21-yard pass to Justin Jefferson on 3rd and 17. Where did he go? What happened there? Where was he at? Like it was Alex Smith from Max Brosmer pretty much on Christmas. I don't really understand. Fans were booing. It was not a good offensive showing whatsoever. If it is Max on Sunday, please do something more than that. Like, I understand you don't want to throw 4 interceptions again, but like you gotta, no risk it, no biscuit, as Bruce Arians would say. But to answer the question about the biggest what ifs, what if the offensive line was healthy this season? Like, they got the 2 backs and they wanted to, run the ball, and Kevin O'Connell still kind of stayed true to being like a down the field passing game artist. And, you saw the quarterbacks trying to stand in there and do the deep drop, and they're, just getting their doors blown off. Carson Wentz sacrifices a shoulder because he couldn't get the time in the pocket, couldn't, the pressure was ridiculous. And you have musical chairs on the offensive line pretty much every week. And then every week you're also playing this, song and dance game of, is Christian Darrisaw going to be a go or not this week? And that was a lot to navigate, especially from an offensive game plan standpoint. I didn't envy Kevin O'Connell at all, but I feel like if they had a better offensive line and they were healthier, maybe the game plan that Kevin O'Connell had for the first half of the season works out a little bit better. But I feel like, he probably could have and should have adjusted the game plan earlier than he did. And maybe, that's still going back to the first point I made. If he's able to, and your point, Sam, like, if the offensive line is healthier, maybe McCarthy doesn't suffer the injury and he's able to play more games than he played this year. And then maybe he hits the peak of his growing pains earlier, and then he's able to play better. Or maybe he gets to the point where Kevin O'Connell got to after that Green Bay Packers game, where he's just like, all right, we're going to throw the footwork out of the window. Like maybe the overseas trip doesn't go as great as he wanted it to, or something like that. And he's like, okay, let me throw that out of the window. Let's get this guy playing confident and playing, mistake-free football, and let him go out there and play. And maybe they do win some of those games that they end up losing. But to me, the offensive line has been an inconsistent unit for all the years KO has been here. And, the first year he got some great play from, Garrett Bradbury, and they were super healthy his first year here. And then the wheels just continued to fall off year after year. And they thought they had it figured out. You spend all this money on Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, you draft Donovan Jackson, and with the exception of Fries, who was coming off one of the most catastrophic injuries of everybody, outside of Christian Darrisaw, everybody else was dealing with injuries. It was plug and play at every other position. The Ryan Kelly concussion situation was just diabolical this season, and I don't know if he's going to continue playing football anymore. Like,
right.
If they have some consistency with health along the offensive line, maybe this season goes a little bit differently from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, like Daniel's question in the chat, why do we think we're going to be good next year? I feel like injury regression, occurred in a big way this year. I think there's a good reason to believe that you will be healthier next year, and turnover
you would hope,
regression.
right?
Turnover regression. Like the Viking, I guarantee you the Bears will drop off next year when they don't have 4,800 takeaways. Like, the takeaway thing fluctuates wildly. The Vikings were snake bit all year. They couldn't take the ball away. They turned it over a ton. That stuff balances out. That and injuries, they're kind of the biggest variables in an NFL season. I think that's your biggest case, is that those two big hinge points were so against the Vikings this year that they are almost bound to have a little better luck in that regard. When we come back, I'm going to rattle off some key Vikings that could be entering their final game. We'll discuss their futures on the other side on the Squad Show. And we are right back at it on the Vikings Squad Show on the #1 sports podcast network. We got to start with Harrison Smith entering final game of year 14 off of one of his best games in his career, in one of the best defensive performances that he's been a part of. So Reggie Wilson, is this it? Is this the final game for Hitman, for number 22? He's been emotional this year. He's been reflective, all the signs of a guy that's hanging it up, but he's yet to commit to it. I think he's still under contract next year. If he gives it a couple months before he decides, will he realize I'm having too much fun? I've got too much left in the tank. This is what we went through last year too. But do you think there's a chance that he could again decide to run it back?
This is my 5th season covering Vikings football, and I feel like the last 3 specifically, it's like, oh, wow, this is it. This is it. And every year, Harrison comes right on back. And this year, you know, he talked about how the mysterious illness that he was dealing with kind of altered the first half of his season because he was just trying to play catch up. And every year, Kevin O'Connell, he gives it a little bit, and then he's like, picks up his phone. He's like, hey, Harry, what you doing? What you doing, buddy? How you feeling? You good? You good? You gonna come back? Can you please come back? Please come back. And, you know, the fact that they missed and they whiffed on Lewis Seen, they let Cam Bynum go, like they don't necessarily have an heir apparent. And so I think it just kind of works out for both parties that Harrison is just like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come back again. But I said that to say we've gotten emotional and introspective Harry for like the last 3 years, getting tears from him getting emotional. I think it's because he knows that he has more and more and more football behind him than in front of him. That being said, I can see him coming back. 37 years old, I can see him coming back. Like, especially like maybe not making a decision until like into training camp or something like that. So he doesn't have to go through that part. And he's just kind of doing his own workout. And then, you know, maybe around August, he's like, yeah, I'm coming back. I'll be back. Let's run it back. Let's do it again. And he comes back and he's Harry and does what he does. But I can see it. I can see it. I'm just never counting his career out until he actually says it out of his mouth. Even if we get like sources say Harrison Smith is going to hang it up, I'm not going to believe it until we see Harry on the screen himself saying, yep, this is it for me.
Julia, what's your gut tell you on Harrison Smith? And even to Reggie's point, even if he said he was done, I would still be holding out that after training camp comes around, maybe like September 1st, he says, you know what? Now that we're through camp, now I kind of want to come back and play games. Like, I'm not even ruling that out with Harrison Smith.
No, I completely agree with you guys. I think, and the Vikings would be like, okay, why not? I also think that this Detroit game didn't help anything in terms of convincing him to retire, right? So obviously he still got it. You never hear anything about him feeling like he's too old to do this. I can't recall a time him ever really complaining about his body or anything like that. I think the only thing that would even potentially convince him is maybe if like his family or something wanted him to not spend so much time playing football, but obviously we don't have any inklings of that either. And so I think if you still got it and you still enjoy it and you're still, as Joe Burrow says, having fun doing it, why not? If you're still under contract, why not stick around for another year? I think any circumstance in which Harry said, and honestly, if it was like his body doesn't feel like it's up to the standard or the workload that he's been under, I think the Vikings even then would be like, that's fine. You know, we'll keep you around to, you know, even if it was a lighter workload, but I just don't even see that happening. So I completely agree. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think we will know anything until he says it out of his mouth, because he got emotional obviously after that game. But I think it's just because this is his home. This is where he's been his whole career, and the way that people have shown up for and it's a funny joke on social media that people say, like, how do you know that your partner's loyal? And it's like, well, they're a Minnesota Vikings fan, so that's how you know how loyal they can be as a person. And so I think that really rings true. People stick around for the Vikings, and these people have stuck around for him since he was, basically a kid coming in here and coming to this organization. And he's been through the ups and the downs of it all, and he's seen the worst of it. He's seen the best that they've had so far. And he's been able to be a part of that. And I think that he's just constantly felt the support. And I think that's where the emotions came from the other day. And just having a big win like that and having a game like he did, I think it was an emotional time for him. And I agree with Reggie in saying, like, he does know that most of his football is behind him at this point, and that does make you emotional. Your career is coming to an end, whether that's now or in a few years. But I completely agree that we're not going to know if Harrison Smith is retiring until he tells us that he's retiring.
Yeah, Ron, what do you think he is weighing? What will go through his mind in those quiet moments in January? Is it, I've never won a Super Bowl, I want to give it a shot to win a Super Bowl? Is it building an even greater legacy? Is it the work that goes in to rehabilitating after a game, right? Like it's hard on the body. Like what do you think he's discussing with his wife? What do you think he's thinking about in his own mind?
Well, we've heard it all from guys like Brett Favre, right? Couldn't get out of bed after certain games, blah, blah. That's when he knew it was time to hang it up. You heard from Jerome. We've talked about Jerome Bettis before. I've had him on iHeartMedia with me. And Jerome Bettis talked about why he retired early at the age of 30, 31. One, he won a Super Bowl, so he was able to walk off the field. And he's like, I want to do it my own way. Everybody has their own kind of way they want to end this game, right? Nobody knows what a guy wants to do when he's all said and done. When you think about Kevin O'Connell saying, I don't talk to Harrison Smith about football at all. We'll talk golf, we'll talk kids. Because every time I've talked to Kevin O'Connell, like outside of football, like just because for those that don't, well, I can't say some of the stuff, but, like his wife has talked to my wife about school systems and other stuff. Like we don't really just talk football. We talk family. We talk kids, where their kids might want to go to high school. My wife's at a school, and so they're asking her, what does she think about this school, her school, that, And when I asked Kevin O'Connell about that, he said it's similar. He's like, man, like we don't really, he said, man, we just talk. Like, hey, man, how's the kids doing? How's the wife doing? How's this doing? He said because he doesn't want Harrison Smith to see his number pop up in his phone and be like, oh, man, he's about to ask me if I want to play again. Like, I don't want to talk to this guy. He wants to keep it friendly. Also, here's what he's weighing, right? So we had Robert Griffith on, Sam, and you remember this. When Robert Griffith talked about what is it going to take for me to play my 13th year? What is it going to take for me to play my 14th year? Back then, he said it was $1 million, right? Back then, $1 million. Harrison Smith, out the gate, $2 million. Plus $250,000 per game as if he stays healthy. I think that's one of the ones where we don't think this through, right? If Harrison Smith knows, I have a $250,000 bonus just to make it to the next game, I don't want to practice, right? That's why everybody's like, why is he out so much? Why does he practice? Why does he do this? Why didn't he do training camp? Because he wanted the $250 a game. So that's another thing to weigh down. $9 million, because he made it all the way through. $9 million is a lot of money to want to come back and say, wait, I just get to play on the back end. I get to blitz when I want to. I get to maybe, and here's my Santa hat for you people. So I was the Grinch. Now I'm Santa.
I love it.
Right? Here's a little gift for you guys. Now, I don't know if this gift is going to get unwrapped, but it's a guy that went to Alabama. Julia loves a good Alabama guy. Caleb Downs, right? Alabama freshman, transferred to Ohio State, wins the national championship. He's probably going to come out and be a top 10 pick. But if he falls, maybe the Vikings scoop him up. But then you got another guy, Keontae Scott, 6 foot 195. Sounds familiar, right? Out of Miami, Florida, right? So that's why when I'm watching these games, because me and Sam just did a breakdown of who we think are going to win the college football games, I'm watching these safeties actually, because I want to see them live and live in person. And here's another one that Julia might love. Bray Hubbard out of Alabama, 6'2", 213 pounds. Body type sounds familiar, right? So when you think about these guys that could replace Harrison Smith, there you go. And then, there's Zakee Wheatley out of Penn State, another 6'2", 202-pound guy, right? Body type that fits what Harrison Smith looks like and does. Big Ten, later pick. But remember, Benjamin St-Juste was a later pick for the Gophers. He's been just fine. Remember, Antoine Winfield was a second-round pick. He's the best safety in football. So it doesn't always have to be a first-round pick. You got to look at this group of guys, find that diamond, and then say, who did they play against? A.J. Halsey, LSU, 6 foot, 202 pounds. Maybe a little too heavy for what Brian Flores wants to do. I think Brian Flores wants to stay in that 200 to 215 range of a guy. He wants a guy that can, because that big 230-pound safety, I think he already has that in Josh Metellus. You got to find a Harrison Smith replacement to then say, Harrison, we just need you to stay for one more year to be able to mold this kid, make this kid you, teach this kid what you taught Cam Bynum, teach this kid how to be you. We'll pay you handsomely just to stick around and teach him, and then play in a couple games if you feel like it. But you're not going to have to practice, and I think that's what's going to weigh on him too. The body, yeah, but $9 million, Sam, $1 million of that can go into recovery. $1 million of that can go into recovery. So we know, like we've seen LeBron James $1 million recovery house, right? Harrison Smith can afford that if he has another $9 million season. Just saying.
Also, Sam, for all the conspiracy theorists out there, he's going to be 37 years old. I'm 35. And I'm starting to see gray pop up everywhere. Harrison Smith is still so black. When I was in his face with the microphone in the locker, I was just like, dang, like his beard is so black. His hair is so black. I don't see a gray hair anywhere.
Just for men.
No. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
Hey, you know who else played safety at 37? He wore number 37. Dion.
Prime.
Dion.
Yeah.
Prime time.
That was my teammate in Baltimore. He came to us at the age of 36. He turned 37 that season, so he wore number 37, which I don't know why Chris McAllister didn't give up 21. Like, you give Dion 21. But, hey, that's a different story. But
I wonder, too, if there's a Flores angle here. Like, it would be probably a lot harder to get Smith excited if it's a new scheme, if it's a new person. Like, if Flores is back, that probably makes it a lot easier for Smith to make that decision to opt back in and play at age 37. I want to get to a couple other guys before the segment's over. And there's another long-tenured Viking. The second longest tenured Viking is also a free agent. Nobody's brought it up once. C.J. Ham. C.J. Ham has been in the organization for a decade as well. Fullbacks, not in style in the league, but he's a captain, right?
He's like a good quarter zip.
He's a culture guy. He's a glue guy. So I just want quick gut answer, quick explanation. Reggie, C.J. Ham, back or not?
Yes. I mean, Kevin O'Connell has talked about how integral he is to the offense, and he's lasted through multiple head coaches at this point. So, yeah, I think he is still very much valuable to this offense, still scoring touchdowns, a receiving threat as well. He's just an invaluable piece of that offense, and he's still doing it at a good enough level that he justifies his value to the team.
Julia?
Yeah, I think he's back. I think obviously he didn't play as much. I don't think he was healthy as long as he wanted to be this season, and so I think that could be a motivating factor for him as well to come back next year.
I don't know if it's his choice to come back. That's the problem I have. Like, I don't know if they're going to bring him back, because if you think about who they could potentially draft, what fullbacks they could probably – or not fullbacks. I think they're looking for more of a tight end, like Juszczyk type of guy, a guy that can motion, play, one by one off the tight end, a bigger –
an H-back?
Yeah, like more like an H-back guy. So if you look at, Ohio State, you look at Notre Dame – I don't know if Notre Dame's looking at football next year. If you look at Notre Dame, they might quit everything. They'd be like, man, we're sick of y'all. But when you look at teams that use that, Oregon, remember, Sam, I've been beating the table for those Oregon tight ends, and the 6'3", 245-pound tight end plays H-back. He moves out into the – I mean, we I don't know if you guys saw the Gophers game. I don't want to talk about that, because that still traumatizes me a little bit, watching those tight ends just absolutely like have highlight show tapes against the Gophers. But that guy can get into the backfield and block. So I just wonder, do the Vikings feel like they need to keep C.J. Ham? Because special teams has even changed. You know what I mean? There's no more running down anymore. There's no more wedge busters. There's no, it's so different. The only thing that still kind of rings true is the punt protection. in the punt, but other than that, like, how much is CJ Ham going to cost you, like, to resign? Is it worth it to resign? And then honestly, does another team maybe need a fullback? I don't know if it's his choice, because that's where I'm saying, if he had it to do his way, like almost $3 million, over $3 million for a fullback that plays 2%, 3% of the plays. That's where I feel like, I don't know. And the way his wife was posting after some of these games, it almost feels like this is the end. Like this Walter Payton deal, like nominating him to see if they can get him one on the way out the door. That's what it seems like it's leaning to. But I know he's still healthy. Like, he still can play because his body's not beat up.
I'll give you the exact number. It's more than you would think. Now, he missed 7 games, so that was the biggest injury of his career. But he played a quarter of the snaps this year, which was the highest of the Kevin O'Connell era. He went from 14% to 19% to 23% to this year almost 28%, because I think they want to go big. I think they want to have tight ends, fullbacks, blockers to help.
But how much of that was injury too, though, to Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, that he had to come in?
That's true. He did play more in that Giants game and the Lions game because of the running back injuries, so that probably plays a little bit of a factor.
But he gave more in pass blocking situations.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Jordan
He's way
Mason.
better in pass protection. He is 100% better in pass protection.
He's still good.
And I feel like with how they were running things with JJ McCarthy, him out of center a lot and them going super heavy, just maximizing the protection so JJ could just get the ball out of there. I feel like he's very valuable to how they want to do things moving forward.
Last one quickly, young guy. Is this the next KJ Osborne? Jalen Naylor, will they let him walk? Will he be re-signed? Is this the end of Naylor? And let's start with Julia. She's muted. She's thinking.
Muted.
She's muted. She's muted. She's still muted. And now she's back.
Sorry, guys. I didn't say anything of importance. I could see another team picking Jalen Naylor up. I think he is a wide receiver 2, at least, on another team. I think this receiving core as a whole this year did not play up to their standards. I know they didn't have the quarterback situation that would have been ideal for them, but still there were times when ball was put in all of their hands that should have been caught several different times, and it just did not happen. However, I think his resume, especially last year heading into this year, I think it makes him attractive to other teams, and I could see the Vikings giving him up. I could see another team paying him more than what the Vikings are going to offer him. So I could see him just quickly going somewhere else. I could see that.
I would agree with Julia. I think this is a penny pinching off season. There's not a surplus. You're actually at a deficit. So that's a luxury you probably can't afford unless you really find a way to trim some cap, like Ryan Kelly retiring, right? Like maybe that saves you some money that you can reinvest. You'd have to restructure some deals. Ron, do you think he's back?
I think he's back for the simple reason of, if he gets an offer from another team, I think the Vikings are going to match it. I also think him and his agent might take a KJ Osborne look at this. Like, leaving doesn't always mean it's going to work out long term. Whereas I think the Vikings probably are, like, they've proven to be a more loyal team, and this offense, and what Kevin O'Connell is going to do with you. I would say be careful, because KJ Osborne thought the same thing, left, and it didn't really work out at every stop. So that's where Jalen Naylor can kind of wait out the whole, like, they can't pay JJ and Addison. And if he waits it out a little bit, maybe just Addison ends up leaving for bigger money somewhere else as a number 1 receiver.
Mm-hmm. Reggie?
Yeah, I was on the fence with this one. By the way, I think I saw KJ Osborne on the sideline with the Falcons Monday night. I was like, oh, I didn't know. But yeah. I think he walks. I think he finds a good deal somewhere like the Chiefs or something like that, and he walks.
The Chiefs need to find a quarterback next year.
True. The Minnesota Vikings actually play a football game on Sunday against Clayton Tune and the Green Bay Packers. We'll have our final bold predictions of the regular season after this very short break. Vikings are 5.5-point favorites. That tells me that FanDuel thinks it's going to be Clayton Tune. There is still a chance that Jordan Love plays. Maybe they want to see him get some reps. Maybe Malik Willis gets that shoulder right. He was unbelievable last Saturday. So we don't know. We don't know who's playing for the Packers. We don't know who's playing for the Vikings. There's any one of three quarterbacks that could play for either team. Kevin O'Connell said they're going to have John Wolford ready if need be. Like it's kind of a wild, unpredictable scenario, Julia. So with that said, give us a bold prediction for Sunday.
A bold prediction? I don't think Jordan Love's going to be playing. I don't know if that's bold or not. Why would you play him right now? Let him
He's
wrestle.
got to get sharp. He's got to get ready for the playoffs, Julia. He's got to get
yeah.
his belt.
I think my bold prediction is he's not going to be playing on Sunday. I don't think that's happening.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. It's
and I think Max
game.
Brosmer starts for the Vikings because what's the point in risking JJ McCarthy getting injured once again? He's so injury prone.
I would agree with that. Ron, you would agree with that too. You think Brosmer's going to play?
I think Brosmer's going to play too. Yeah, you don't need to get J.J. McCarthy hurt to end the season. That would be a horrible way to end the season and then hold him out of OTAs. Let that hand, like I said, that hand's probably going to be a 3 to 4 month. Just because if it's a small fracture, like I told you, like I had a harder one, and mine was like 6 to 8 months before I even felt like it was normal again. I got MRI over at TCO, by the way, thanks to the Vikings, and no breaks shown anymore. Bone is healed, but it takes time. So I would say Brosmer. My storyline is going to be the Justin Jefferson. That's always going to be my storyline for this. Is like how petty, on a scale of 1 to 50 cent, are the Packers going to be? Because like they could be super 50 cent petty and just put everybody over Justin Jefferson and say, I don't care what you do. Like Jordan Addison, go off 200 yards. We don't care. Jalen Naylor, go have yourself a 250-yard game. We don't care. But Justin Jefferson, I'm sorry, bro. You're not going to get 1,000 yards. I'm not going to let it happen. I'm playing all types of split coverage over there, over the top of you. Yeah, that's my storyline is how petty are the Packers defense is going to be. Is it going to be like a 1, 2, 3, or is it going to be 50 cent? Because if you go 50 cent, you're just going full on like scorched earth to like really be petty.
I'm actually really fascinated by this storyline because think about what could happen in the fourth quarter. Let's say the Vikings are winning the game, right? Let's say they're up by 3 with 2 minutes left, and you would ordinarily be running the ball. Maybe you would be in kneel down mode, but Justin Jefferson needs 5 yards. What are you going to do? Right? What if he is triple covered and needs the yardage, but you badly need a completion? Do you force it to the guy? Do you make the wrong decision just to get it to Justin Jefferson? What if you're up by 20 and Justin Jefferson needs the yards? Are you unsportsmanlike and try to throw the ball up by 20 instead of wasting the clock down? These are interesting scenarios that I actually can't wait to watch. I'm going to say that the Vikings will throw the ball with under 2 minutes to go and get Jefferson the yardage he needs. I hope it's dramatic. I hope it's controversial because we need something to inject life into this game because this is not that scintillating of a matchup with the quarterbacks in play and the lack of stakes. It's the CBS game with Spiro Ditas. They got like the D team showing up to announce the game. Reggie, I don't think we got to you yet. Bold prediction.
Yeah, I think too. As of yesterday, LaFleur is still kind of playing a game of chicken. Like, yeah, I'm still unsure what I'm going to do in this game because we need to build some momentum going into the playoffs. But we also have a lot of injuries right now. So we may be in a situation where we have to play our guys because, of attrition. And I'm just like, okay, all right, so we're going to do that all the way up until game time then, like not going to know exactly who they're going to be facing. So I think that part of it is a little annoying. But I think, look, Max Brosmer, if it is you, let it rip, bro. I think this is a bold prediction considering the quarterback. 150 yards. How about that for Max Brosmer? 150 yards.
I'm going to say 52 yards, and they're going to not be negative sacks.
That means Justin Jefferson doesn't get his 1,000 then if it's 52.
I know. That's the problem. It's going to be Justin Jefferson 999
What you're forgetting, gentlemen, is that Justin Jefferson doesn't need to be thrown the ball by Brosmer. They can dial up some trickery. They can have Naylor throw
reverse.
it. Aaron Jones can throw it. Yeah.
Pop pass on a end
Tight
around.
end. Have we ever seen a tight end throw it on like some type of fake tush push? Could do that. Tebow style, the jump pass.
Josh Oliver looks like he's got a good arm. I think
I will say my bold prediction is we will see a gritty for the first time at US Bank Stadium this season. I think we will get the gritty. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a Grinchy gritty, a Santa gritty, but we're going to get a gritty.
He scored in the opener in Chicago and in Detroit. Those are the two.
Yep, we've not seen one at US Bank Stadium.
Saw one from JJ McCarthy.
Need a Christmas gift. And then everybody in the media suites will get a bottle of champagne, and we're going to pop it.
Beautiful. Sounds like a fun press box. Thank you all for your presence here on the Vikings Squad Show. To Reggie, check out him on Care 11 tonight as he heads out of the sports director spot. Reggie, you will be missed there. Julia Daniels, thank you for your work. Ron Johnson, appreciate you as well. And to all the viewers, the listeners, the commenters, and the subscribers, thank you, and a happy 2026 on the Vikings Squad Show.